The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and think
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Outside Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Most tracks look very different from how they did in 1967, but part of the charm and challenge of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is that the layout is still very much the same as it was for the Canadian Grand Prix 50 years ago. And one of the rare chances for drivers to truly experience what the likes of Clark and Hill did in this Lotus 49, Mosport presents just such an opportunity. So strap in for a thrill ride because you're watching round 11 of the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, I hope you've got some plaid left over from your days of the woodshed picks, because it's time to tell us about Mosport.
Oh, I'm definitely sporting the plaid this morning, brother. Listen, one of the things I really want to point out about the track map that you're looking at here is that this 2.5 mile layout that you see on screen is pretty much how the place looked when it opened in 1961, and that's a rarity nowadays that racetracks aren't altered in some form or fashion to adapt to demands of modern safety concerns. But these drivers can truly picture themselves racing like they did in that very first Canadian Grand Prix. That said, the majority of these 10 corners are fast sweepers with lots of elevation changes. What does that mean? Well, it means passing opportunities are probably going to be slim. Moss Corner looks probably like one of the best ones on paper, but man, that's a risky attempt down there. Expect most of the passes that maybe happen in the S's. The real worry, though, is going to be most of these drivers are going to be Clayton in turn 2. In real life, that runoff is now paved, meaning it's not quite as dangerous, but here in iRacing, well, there's a lot of grass and a lot of running. I can almost guarantee you that a few races will end at this blind, scary corner, but to really show you how terrifying it can be, let's head on to the GSRC Lotus 49.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Mosport. Down into turn 1, drivers can take a lot of this inside curb, so much so that if they wanted to, they can straddle it, bleed onto the power, and get the car to the right quick for Clayton. The crest here means you'll want to double apex this sucker by letting it drift back out mid-corner. As you scrub off speed, cut it back in and ease onto the throttle. Once again, switch sides quickly, get the car settled, and try your best to get the nose turned in for Quebec. The exit of this corner really opens up, but can't quite be taken flat to the floor until the car is pretty well straightened out. Then comes the plunge through turn 4. Ideally, you'll want your left front tire to barely glance the gutter on the inside. Hold tight to the left and use the compression at the bottom of the hill to get the car slowed up. As the track falls away, it'll want to push in the middle of Moss. Aim for the straightest exit you can out of this hairpin so that you can get on the gas as soon as possible. Now we've hit the Andretti straight, which proves no problem in most cars, but the 49 will be bouncing all over, getting squirrely. Here's a little trick I learned. Let fourth gear bounce off the limiter over the hump and the car stays planted so that you can keep your foot in it. Once you come over the final rise, you gotta slam on the brakes and get it turned in for the S's. Try to keep the car tight to the inside to offer a better line into 9. In the end, you want to set the car up for the ideal entry into White's corner, which is the slowest of these switchbacks. Be gentle on the power, and if you kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Mosport. Lap guide, of course, on a very sunny day. Not so out here. Cool conditions with the sun away behind the clouds, but let's take a look at the points before we go over the racing, because things are tight and they only have this round and one more left to go. Michel Dudagnon has managed to take over the lead. Zoko could still overcome things, but he's going to have a good round here and a good round at the next one to try to overcome those 5 points. Mick Claridge could still come back mathematically, but again, it's going to take an incredible turnaround and some bad races for Michel for Mick to try and overcome that points deficit. Billy Bob Wright is in the same positions there, sitting tied for third. And then Jack Ulstead, unfortunately, cannot take the championship from here on out. Now, Sean, what about the Constructors' Championship here with 2 rounds to go?
Well, let's take a look at that, Joe, and see where we're at here. Now, Australia sitting up top with 50 points. United States very close there. Today they're going to, well, they'll look for their teammates, Ulstad being one of them, maybe Brett Reale, who knows, one of them can get on the podium. A couple of them, it looks good for the U.S. Now, France is lurking, only 9 points back. The U.K., they're 18 points, and the Netherlands, 35 points. They're out of first. Watch that battle, though. They're second and third, very, very close.
Indeed, and we have 2 more rounds to talk about. This cause that this series is for, the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge, of course, for gathering funds for a very special cause here, Sean.
Yes, sir. We are Racing for Rick, and every one of these we've done this season have been for Rick Emerson in an effort to try and help him and the millions affected by ALS. And the ALS Association. We have information in our YouTube chat there, a link that you can help contribute to the ALS. If you've got anything that you can spare, we'd certainly appreciate it, as ALS is a horrible disease. Rick's been battling himself with it for just over 4 years now, and he's a close friend here, the organizers of the series. And remember, here in the Lotus 49, we are Racing for Rick, and shout out to you, Rick. Hope you're doing well today, and hope you're watching.
We are watching the qualifying right now, actually, as Ulstead on screen has just completed his second lap. The farthest up he's going to be able to go is third position. Right now, Dudagnon leads the way at a 1:15.2. As I said, overcast conditions mean it is incredibly fast laps here today. Very grippy track. And Dudagnon is actually coming around to complete his second lap. Let's see if he can improve on this 1:15.2. Coming around White's corner and across the line. It looks like that 1:15.2 is going to stay. Now, Mick Claridge, he has completed 1 lap and is coming around to complete his second as well. Coming up the front stretch, which really, Sean, I'm sure you experienced in your reconnaissance laps. This backstretch is not easy. It's not straight at all. No, it's not straight. And then there's a jump. You got to watch yourself, because the wheels leave the pavement, and it's almost a shift point right there. So you got to be very, very careful. It's like you said, it's not straight, and it is very bumpy. Across the line for Mick Claridge, can he topple Dudagnon? He cannot. He does improve his time, though, to within 0.3 of the Frenchman. So he's going to start on the front row. And indeed, if you haven't driven the Lotus 49 around Mosport, give it a whirl. And if you can actually manage to get to the backstretch, you actually have to lift in some points. Today, they might be able to take it flat out with the grippiness they have out on track. Everybody has managed to put their lap in. So it looks like our order has been set. Let's go through your grid. On the pole, Michel Dudignon is going to start it off. Let's see if that's going to help him in the championship. McClarridge will be starting in second. Jack Ulstead starts today in third, with Corey Davis in fourth. Then rounding out the top five, you have Benjamin Zocco. On the outside of row three, Billy Bob Wright. Remember, he's fighting for this championship. He needs a good result today to try and claw back those 11 points he's behind our leader. Ove Trangarade is sitting in seventh. Then on the outside of row four, it's the Kiwi, Michael Langford. Casper de Kort has contributed pretty much all the points for the Netherlands this season. He'll be starting in ninth outside of the points. And then rounding out the top 10, Sean, it's Brett Rial.
All right, we'll go back to row 6, and starting in 11th, it'll be Hideki Koivitso with Andrew Ng there in 12th, and Simon Shaw going to start 13th with Ivan Doijo there in 14th. Don, tell me something good there in row 8 and 15th, and Marcelo Aiello starting 16th today. And try to remember, have we seen him yet this season?
I do not believe we have, and he is hailing from Hispano-America, so I'm guessing that's from Central America, from that region. I'm not entirely sure where that club comprises of here in iRacing. He did not put a qualifying lap in, so we'll see how he fares here in this Lotus 49 tricky car if you're not used to it. Not sure if he's been practicing and racing outside of these broadcast races, as Andrew Ng just gets a little bit more practice in here during the rest of the qualifying. The last 30 seconds ticking down. Then we go racing today for 28 laps here around Mosport.
Joe, let's talk about the Ballast Boys. What are the Ballast Boys? Who are they? Well, the Ballast Boys mean we've got a few drivers out there actually going to go with 25 gallons of fuel today. Kind of give them a little bit of a disadvantage to start the race. Try and level the playing field just a bit. Who are they? Well, it's Ove Trangarade, Mick Claridge, and Michel Dudignon. So your front row, starting with a heavy fuel tank, should prove to be pretty interesting for the likes of Jack Ulstad, Corey Davis, Zocco, and Billy Bob Wright just behind them.
And everybody is gridding up now. All 16 cars should hopefully take to the track. Decent field out here today for the Lotus 49 series, and on such a short track, we could see the lap traffic come into play, as the lap times, the differences between them are a full 3 seconds and around 28 laps around here. You can definitely expect some of these drivers towards the back to be caught before that is over. You can see very short front stretch here down into turn 1. It's a bit of a fast sweeper into that corner, even in this car, so thankfully there won't be a whole lot of braking. We should see drivers be able to sort themselves out before they hit Clayton, and they're really going to want to, with the way that corner does not like too wide racing. Almost everybody out on the grid at this point. Beautiful 8 rows of Lotus 49's classic F1 cars. Lights are up, waiting for the green to come out. Green flag is out. Michel Dudignon gets a decent start, but how about Jack Ulstead? Gets a great jump, but unfortunately has to check up as the road is blocked. Cars starting to get themselves single file through turn 1 as they head into Clayton. Sean, let's see if everybody can make it through. Got a car sideways. That's Ove Trangarade. He catches it. Beautiful save by Ove.
Yeah, it really was. He did save it indeed. He was drifting it through there.
I thought for sure he was going off, and not the type of way that you want to start this race, but at least he didn't even lose any positions in all of that. Mick Claridge taking a peek down into Moss Quarter on Dudignon, but as you mentioned, hard to make an overtake through there. Everybody single file through Moss. And now up the long backstretch where you can make a difference over these bumps. Casper between DeCourt and Langford.
Yeah, Casper making a move up the hill here. Oh, and you see he gets loose there. That's what we talked about, Joe. It's just not, it's not straight, not flat.
Manages to hold it together. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost at least one driver over that hump on the backstretch. But Dudignon is going to lead the way. Our championship leader came back from behind after missing a couple of the early rounds. Such has been his dominance, and that is with the ballast in many of these races. McClarridge a little bit wide through Clayton, swings it back through, double apex through there in this car, now breaking down into Quebec. Your top 5 here after one lap: Dudignon, Claridge, Olstead, Davis, and Zoko.
Corey Davis, another newcomer. I don't recall seeing him either.
I do believe he's raced a little bit, but he's not a regular this season.
Yeah. Well, the Carolina driver off to a really good start here, Joe.
Yeah, top 5 is no mean feat as they come up the backstretch one more time. Dudignon stretching a bit of a gap over Claridge. Olstead starting to run him down. Boy, that ballast. Oh, Mick looking very loose, catches it. No opportunity for Olstead to overtake here through the S's. Looking around the outside of turn 8. That'll give him the inside to White's corner, but once again, can't get that nose in. He's going to have to hold into third. But before he got interrupted there, Sean, the ballast seems to hurt these drivers on the backstretch.
Yeah, we're seeing that here early. And, with the length of this track, I don't know how much fuel they're really going to be burning. This could be something they fight with for at least half of the race.
Now it's Olstead's turn to slide, coming through Clayton. Corey Davis with no chance to try and get his car around the American as they stay single file through Quebec. But that lost Olstead all kinds of time on Mick Claridge, so now the Brit can look ahead to try and focus on the Frenchman. Oh, and now it's a slide from Dudignon, and Dudignon is off track, comes back on, managed to hold Claridge off, comes back to the apex, but it is a fight for the lead as they come up the backstretch, Sean.
The race is on. Look at him go.
Side by side. Claridge looking to the outside. Are they going to hold it? Door to door coming through the S's. Tries to break late, but the inside goes to Dudignon. And look at the train forming behind them. Olstead has now come up, and Davis has now rocked up behind them. A move to the inside by Claridge. Sticks it in deep, but unfortunately Dudignon is not going to be able to let him through this time. Mick Claridge just cannot find a way past Michel Dudignon.
And Olstead is still just a passenger. Olstead, no!
Olstead around and on his lid, flips back over, but that is going to be a tow. I'm pretty sure everybody managed to avoid him. Let's look at the replay.
Boy, I feel bad. I was getting ready to say Olstead just a passenger there as he was watching that battle in front of him, and well, he went for a ride.
And he took a tow, but let's take a look at Dudignon's slide that kind of set that all up. And actually, when we come back, the battle is on for first. We're going to have to come back live. This time, Mick Claridge got the run off the corner as they climb up the hill. He is fully passed. He's in the lead, but he had a bobble over the hump. Dudignon took a look, trying to get around him. Claridge defensive into turn 8, holds him off. Behind them, newcomer Corey Davis is trying to see what he can do to get past these two legends. Your order here on lap 4 now is Claridge, Dudignon, Davis. For our podium, it is switched all around in one lap on the attack. Dudignon trying to get by McClarridge, but now he slides, going back into the grass, gives up multiple positions as cars stream by all the way down into 6th.
Clayton claims another victim on board with McClarridge.
I don't think he claimed him, though. It looks like he recovered. Lives to fight another day, but not without damage done. Great save from the Englishman. And he's already trying to hold off the likes of, or get past the likes of Casper de Kort. Looking to get himself back farther up. He's still in the points. Battle for third as Billy Bob Wright and Zoko, who are again in this championship fight, battling amongst each other. They need to worry about Claridge coming back through. He's already on the attack on Casper, looking to the inside. He likes that sneaky move into the final corner.
Yeah, and Casper has a little bit of a bobble. Mick not able to take advantage of that yet. And Mick will now make his way back up to Clayton. Let's see what happens here.
We ride on board with Casper, looking back over that engine. Closing in behind him. He could get a run down in Quebec. He's looking to the inside. Casper does not defend. Gives him that apex. Can he cut back around? Does not. So give fifth to Mick Claridge.
Ove Trengrade back here trying to still get this spot back for Michael Langford. He's been working on him for a while. Langford pretty steady here so far until I just started talking about him, and he's off in Moss. Ove Trengrade, when he comes back across. Right in front of Riali there. Ooh.
Brett getting on the binders just in time and still managing to out-accelerate the Kiwi. So the Pennsylvania driver now moves himself up into 8th. Things up in the top 5, still looking relatively close as Casper hasn't given up on Claridge, who's rocked up behind Australian Benjamin Zoko. Australia leading the points currently, but not by a lot, and Zoko has not been able to do much to try and take wins away in these last few rounds. Hasn't qualified well, but has climbed up the order. And Mick is pushing all the way to the edges of the track as we ride on board.
Joe, I'm not bringing a lot of luck to this field. It seems like every time I start to talk about somebody, it hasn't been a good ending.
And speaking of good, Don Good off in Clayton. Did he hit the wall? Looks like he did not. And to see coming over the crest to rear, just does not want to grip, and he almost catches about 3 or 4 times there. Swings it off into the grass and is able to return unharmed as we come back live. He's got newcomer Marcello Aiello, and he's not in last place, so Marcello bringing up the tail of the field. Ulstead is our only retirement so far.
Yeah, I was about to say, really, this track hasn't really been hard as far as carnage goes, but Jack, with that early incident, obviously that was an ender for him, but the rest of the field moving on pretty well. Obviously, lots of runoff areas here, but we talked about the trouble that Clayton can bring. If you really miss it, you will hit that tire barrier all the way across the grass.
Andrew Ang sliding way out, and someone has hit the tire barrier. That's Michael Langford.
Oh, boy.
He takes a tow. Same thing we've been seeing. Sean, I was talking to our director before the race about the difficulties of this turn.
Yeah, it's not any fun, and Mike, boy, he really hit that hard. That's a shame. He was really running well until that mishap.
Sad to see Langford not get the results that were looking like they could have been decent today, so the Kiwi takes a tow. And I'm not sure that he'll be able to get back out in time with the slam that he had into those tires. Switching back up to our leader. Dudignon, with all the fighting behind, extends his gap to Corey Davis to 2.3 seconds. How about the Carolina driver? Started this race in 4th, up to 2nd, just by racing clean and smooth.
You know what? Clean and smooth, exactly. It's been a pretty flawless drive for him. He's obviously a big fan of the car and probably a big fan of this track. I'm still watching Mick's progress here. He's keeping Billy Bob here pretty close, and I don't know, 5 seconds though to Dudignon. We still have about just under 20 laps left to go. There's time, Joe. There's time, but Mick's going to have to be perfect to the finish.
Behind them, quite a battle going on between DeCourt and Zoko. DeCourt, when we weren't looking, somehow snuck around the Australian and got himself up into 5th. Right now, Zoko holds the last and final point of the field if they finish in this order.
I think the ballast has really been trouble for Ove Trengerade, because there he sits still in 7th. Joey's not been able to advance his position at all. Ove's had a good drive, but just no speed.
Mick took another dive at Billy Bob Wright into White's corner. That's about the 4th time we've seen Mick Claridge try and outbrake someone into that right-hander. I don't think it's come off yet. He is hustling that car. We're used to seeing Mick get a little bit sideways in this machinery, but the way that car just bobbles around, I'm not liking the attitude of his Lotus 49 at the moment.
Yeah, Mick keeps getting those tires off right out there on the edge, and boy, that makes me nervous in this car, especially here. Now he's getting a run at him. Mick's getting a run at Billy Bob.
He will get a whiff of a draft, but it's so hard to control this car up the straightaway. I'm not sure that it's going to be able to do much, especially you can see with the ballast losing him. Top end coming down to the braking for turn 8. Does not get a chance to pass Billy Bob, which makes me wonder, maybe that's why we're seeing him make the dive here into White's corner, which he's probably going to take another look. Oh, gets all kinds of loose there and isn't able to make the attempt. I wonder if that's what he's doing there, Sean, is he knows he can't outgun people down the backstretch, so he's taking whatever corner he can to try and sneak one in.
I think that's an appropriate plan, Joe.
Oh, all kinds of loose through Clayton. Catches it somehow. My goodness.
And he's still trying to get the wheels under him there.
How in the world did he save that car? And they do have an incident limit in this series, so I'm wondering if Mick's got to worry about that here soon. Well, laps to go.
Well, he definitely has some. I wouldn't say he's in the danger zone at this point, but boy, he keeps doing that. He is going to have to pay attention to it at some point.
Visto, unfortunately, had some issues, took a tow.
Yeah.
Looks like this was into Quebec, which is not what you often think of as a trouble corner, but in this car, it looks like an overcorrection. You'll see on the replay. Took him out. Comes around Clayton. Now, as the car goes in, you'll see the rear brake loose. And when he steers it back, it catches, and unfortunately, it looks like it sends him on his lid.
Yeah, it shot him right off to the left into the barrier and then flipped him over and had to take the toe in, and that's probably going to be the day for Hideki Koivitso.
So we come back to the battle for 5th between DeCourt and Zoko. You know, that's always one of the things that I found about this track that is more dangerous in this car, Sean, is that the walls are close, and this car does not like to slow down.
No, it's notorious for not wanting to slow down. Man, I'm still watching this battle here. Casper DeCourt had a really, really scary moment there coming off the top of Clayton. Or I'm sorry, that wasn't Clayton. My bad. That was off of turn 4, heading down into Moss.
4 is another scary one for me in this car that you kind of have to thread that needle through.
Yeah, it's kind of a leap of faith, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah, you come over that crest and the car gets so light with so little downforce. We'll continue to watch that battle up ahead of them. Claridge got close once again to Billy Bob Wright, but we've seen these two fight it out like this for a number of times, and Billy Bob is a fierce defender, not letting anything through with Mick Claridge as they come through turn 1 more time. Oh, and DeCourt side by side with Ove Trangarade.
Claridge is off out of Clayton. Yeah, it looked like him and Billy Bob got together. Mick doesn't run off into the wall. don't think he picked up much damage. Let's look at it on the replay. Oh, Mick started sliding before he hit him there, actually.
Got right into the gearbox. You can see once again, miraculously, this is the most time I think I've ever seen a driver go off in Clayton and not hit the wall. Comes back in 7th with probably a little bit of nose damage, which is not going to help.
Man, out of Moss, big time fight there between Zoko and Ove Trengerade. Trengerade finally gets around.
Let's see if that's worth a replay here.
Looks they had
Go ahead.
I was going to say that Casper was right in front of him, and all three of them got collected down there in Moss.
Yeah, I think Zoko just went a little bit wide, and advantageous move by Trangrade. So let's stay live in case this breaks out once again. Claridge with more stuff to do now after a mistake already sent him back once before, and he climbed his way part way up the ladder only to fall back down again. This moves Zoko back into 6th after he was temporarily bumped into 5th, so still last car in the points. Trangrade, though, up 2, now into 5th and already working on Casper DeCourt.
You know, Mick Claridge is right behind them, but over 2 seconds now, Joe. Mick was up here fighting for the lead of this race at one point, and mistakes have cost him tremendously. I know how desperate he was to get a good finish today, and it looks like that attitude might have got the best of him.
Fierce battle here for this 4th spot, 3 cars in a line. One thing I love about how this race has been playing out, Sean, is that people don't typically associate close side-by-side racing with this car, but we've seen today it's not only possible, but if anything, it's facilitated by the mistakes that are so easy to make in this machinery.
Yeah, indeed, Joe, indeed. Oh, and here it goes. Look for the pass. DeCourt took a look. DeCourt holds on to it. Ove's looking at it. He came up alongside and then backed out of it, Joe. Ove looking pretty spry. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your thought there, but this battle pretty intense still.
Absolutely. Trangrade was threatened by Zoko, but he lifts before they get to turn 4, not willing to try and make that much of a brave move into these corners, smoking them up as a lockup from DeCourt. Still manages to make the apex somehow through there. And the Netherlander under threat from the Scandinavian as Ove Trangrade holds on behind. One of our ballast boys, though, and you can see that top end and that Honda just is not there.
Wow. You know who is almost there and starting to reel in this group? Mick Claridge is actually starting to close up on him. A little bit of fighting here has kind of brought the race to him.
Don't have to go to it, but our leader Dudagnon leading by 7.5 seconds now over Corey Davis. Remember, Dudagnon is leading the championship, and he is looking like he's going to extend that gap. In fact, I need to check and see if this is going to mean he could seal it today. He's leading 5 points over Zoko. It's 9 points for a win, 6 for second place. He needs to win 4 points over Zoko to keep him from being able to overtake him. Doing some quick math, and we know how dangerous that is on GSRC.
Oh boy.
Zoko sitting in 6th, so he will, if they finish in this order, Zoko will not be able to overtake Dudagnon for the championship. We've continued to watch this fight on screen. Break in, Sean, if this starts to come out. McClarridge is the next one down, and Billy Bob Wright tied at 11. Those are the only two able to catch him in the championship. We know that Mick is well down the order, out of the points currently. So he has to score better than Dudagnon to stay in this, and so does Billy Bob Wright. So if this stays how it is, as we see an attempt here from Trangerade, not able to do anything on DeCourt. if things stay how they are, Sean, this is the championship for Dudagnon.
Yeah, wow. And honestly, Joe, it's looking pretty good for him, isn't it? I mean, it's really just not seeing any trouble yet in this race. Now, he will be coming up on traffic pretty soon, but I don't think that traffic's going to cause him too much trouble. Man, these 4 cars, though, just continue to impress. DeCourt, Trengrade, Zoko, and Claridge. Yeah, Claridge, he's there. He's found the battle.
This is turning into a hornet's nest between these 4. DeCourt leads the way, gets himself a gap over Trengrade, who's now under threat from Benjamin Zoko, peeks to the inside into turn 8, but he's not able to make the pass. 12 laps to go for these 4. At this point, I don't think they're even worried about the championship.
Ooh.
Here comes Mick Claridge. What a dive! First time we've seen that move pay off for the Brit.
Wow, I think that's the first move we've seen in whites. That could be a premonition of things to come. Maybe a last lap dash there.
Finally figured things out, did Mick Claridge, moving himself up into the points. But it's still going to be too little too late unless he outscores Dudagnon. I will say, well, as look at Ove Trengrade can't do anything with that run out of the corner, though, as they hit turn 4 single file through here. I will say, Sean, we've seen from a number of top drivers, this race is not over. You can have the greatest lead ever, but can it all disappear in a moment?
Oh, absolutely, and especially at this track, Joe. I mean, I know we just beat it to death, but Clayton Corner can claim anybody. That turn 2 is about as tricky as it gets in motorsports, and especially in this car. Oh, DeCourt. I'm sorry, not DeCourt, but Trengrade was sliding in his Honda. That allows Mick Claridge to get by.
Indeed, he's now moved himself up into 4th. Ove's taking a look at him, but turn 1 typically not a place to pass. Next up is going to be the Dutchman. DeCourt is up for Mick Claridge as he bobbles a little bit, but offers no opportunity for Trengrade as they come through Clayton one more time. And we've already seen weakness from Dudagnon. Remember, he had that big slide early on in the race through Moss that he had to recover from.
He did, so he's not been perfect, right? So that's already an indicator that maybe there's a crack in the armor. Maybe everybody has a chance. Oh, look at Claridge sliding. Almost gets into the back of DeCourt.
I'm not sure if that was a defense from DeCourt. Oh, takes another look. Smokes him up down into the second part of Moss. Ove Trengrade gets out of it to stay out of the gearbox of Mick Claridge. And they all somehow continue.
Absolute madness. With 10 laps to go.
Zoko lifts coming up the backstretch, not willing to try and threaten Trengrade down into turn 8. I want to give us a rundown through the order as we get to the dying stages here, but I'm afraid to step away from this fight between these 4.
Yeah, and by the time you got back to it, one of these positions might change again.
Sean, you keep an eye on that battle. I'm going to give us the order of our top 5 here. Michel Dudagnon is your leader if you're just joining us here in the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. Has led since the drop of the green. He did make a mistake here in this corner through Moss. Didn't lose the lead somehow and continued on. He's got 8 seconds over newcomer Corey Davis. Great run from the Carolina driver in the 2nd position. Just has looked nice and smooth. Hasn't made any major mistakes despite not having the pace to challenge the leader. Billy Bob Wright, how about this run for the podium here from the Florida driver? He's not threatened as well. Has about 6 seconds over the Dutchman that starts the fierce battle that we have been following. Casper DeCourt sitting in 4th, and rounding out the top 5 that's in the midst of this battle is Mick Claridge. Sean.
All right, Ove Trengrade right there in 6th. He's trying to improve that spot, but he's in the middle of this fight. Zoko sits right there behind him in 7th. Then we'll go a little ways back to Brett Reale, about 5.5 seconds back from this battle. Oh, DeCourt.
a little bit of a
Did Court
mistake
get
in
that
the turn.
position? Yeah.
Well, remember, no, he was ahead of McClaren already, as he's been trying to poke and prod to find his way around. He's got to worry about, who gets into him!
Oh, that went back quickly.
And that is the championship for sure. Both drivers into the wall. At least for Mick Claridge.
Wow,
That
look at this shot from above here, Joe.
That is his hopes dashed. You're going to see he gets a little bit loose. Trangrade had to be close. Actually checked up, I think, for DeCourt getting off course, it looked like from that replay. We're going to watch it one more time from above. Or from on board.
Well, on board with Obe here. Coming down off of Clayton.
Yeah, the check just caught him out.
Yeah, it did. Obviously, you can react in this car, but that doesn't mean it's going to slow down on a dime for you.
Gonna watch it from Soko's view. This has got to be scary. Sees part and clear ahead. All he has to focus on now is one car, and that's Casper DeCourt, sitting in the 4th position. Both drivers apologizing in the chat after that. Both kind of realizing just a racing incident. So nobody really blames each other. So with that, that does put Mick Claridge out of the championship hunt. However, Billy Bob Wright still mathematically in it if Dudagnon makes a mistake. Same thing with Benjamin Zocco. But this will require Michel Dudagnon to have an error that either sends him far enough back that he's out of the points or completely takes him out of the race. But we do have a fight going on for 8th position, just behind our leader.
Yeah, Simon Shaw and Don Good going at it right now. Simon getting the better of that battle here at the moment. Don, though, pretty good pace. Just really got to manage the rest of this race carefully.
That was the car of Marcello, who was actually just coming back onto track. I wonder if he was repairing some damage there, as he's running slow. Because we should not expect pit stops in this race. So I'm going back, and he was in fact running very slow before. Oh, battle for 4th back on. And Casper DeCourt managing to overtake Zocco. Did Zocco get by while we weren't looking? He made an attempt into Quebec. Oh, and off course goes DeCourt through Moss.
Well, so much for that. Zocco going to get it back.
Zocco proving once again, stay on course, keep it pointed forward, you will gain positions. That was Marcello that they just went by. I'm thinking he needs to park it. In fact, he pulls completely off course. That car was not repaired enough to try and finish this race. It's a dangerous spot for him to try, as cars are just streaming by him now.
Boy, didn't I say just a little while ago attrition hadn't been bad in this race?
I was thinking that a few moments ago as well. You know, typically attrition takes its toll early on, but this one has just been gobbling them up one by one, almost like a horror film.
Well, you know, in the pre-race, we were talking about, you know, my laps that I had done here in practice, and man, you get a little worn out. This track is a bit of a workout, and I wonder if maybe fatigue hit a couple of these drivers and maybe lend to an error at some point.
I would not doubt it. 28 laps is a long time. That puts Don Good as the last car out on track. 16 started, only 9 are still going. We're looking at almost half the field having dropped out here. 5 laps to go, though. I think at this point, a few of these drivers may be turning the wick down just to make it to the checkered flag.
Wow, second place, Corey Davis just had big-time trouble, or almost had big-time trouble with getting by Simon Shaw as he put him a lap down.
We're going to look at the replay. Did not expect him coming through, did Shaw. You're going to see into turn 8. He was slow into the corner.
Yeah,
Wow. That looked like more like a lapping in the Lotus 79 than the Lotus 49, the closing rate.
I mean, it's just, oh, hello.
Whew, did they actually touch wheels there?
It looked like it, Joe, but, Corey just kept driving right through there, and I never saw the car twitch, so I don't know if they made contact or not, but what a piece of driving there by Corey Davis.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way you want to touch wheels in these cars. If you touch side to side, you can get away with it, but if you touch front to back on the wheels, oof, you are in for trouble. This car can, in fact, get launched easily, send you into the air. Four laps to go, and Dudignon is now making it 3 laps to go. 10-second gap over Corey Davis. All Michel has to do from here on out is bring it home. He could run almost as slow a laps as he wants, really, with that 10-second gap over Davis. No real battles left on track. Everybody trying to just get this car to the end. DeCourt was the one fighting hard with Zocco, is backed off. Closest now is between Shaw and Good. About 1 second between those two for 8th place. Whew, you can see just how sideways these cars get through the corner. DeCourt, the angle of that camera showing the angle of attack that they go through there.
You know, Mick Claridge had shared some information with me before the race, and he said really he thought this race would be a little bit about tire management as well. He says you really have a tendency to burn off the left front here at Mosport. So not surprised to see these cars even freeing up more here towards the end.
So we watch Simon Shaw continue this battle with Good towards the tail end of the field. That's Billy Bob Wright in 3rd, coming up to lap them. He's not under immediate threat from Zocco, so he probably isn't too worried about getting past these guys right away, especially if they're battling. In fact, look at that. Look at that sportsmanship from Don Good, and he gets a big thank you from Billy Bob, understanding that he's breaking up a bit of a battle.
Yeah, these guys are all... This is a real class series, man. Lots of give and take and friendship and just overall great sportsmanship, man. Even though physical lives are not on the line in this series, I think one thing this card kind of drives home between drivers, Sean, is that you have to finish this race, and there's a certain amount of respect you need to have. You can't race this like modern F1 cars, just chopping everybody off at the nose and pulling aggressive, almost Senna-like moves. It's a gentleman's game like they used to have in this car. Well, how many times this season have we seen guys give a position back because they felt like they didn't gain it respectfully? You know what I mean? Absolutely. White flag is out for Dudignon, the Frenchman, known for being a dominant force in this series for a number of seasons. So many of the drivers up at the top of their game here in this series, names start with M. They like to refer to Mick and Michel for a while as the M&Ms. As he comes through Quebec, Michel looking to take another championship. All he has to do is bring this car home. Oh, and DeCourt, did he have problems? It looks like he got into the wall on the front stretch, coming out of White's corner. Oh, man. And trouble's going to continue for him, and Clayton. We'll get back to that replay in a minute. Michel Dudignon is going to come to the line with 3 more corners. Through turn 8, the fast right-hand sweeper, double apex, tucking it back in. Left hand to turn 9, and now through White's corner. Off of that final turn, Michel Dudignon is your winner in Canada and your championship winner here in the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. And Corey Davis going to come around White's now, and he will secure a second place finish on the podium for him. Great run by Corey Davis.
Rounding out the third spot, Billy Bob Wright. Great run for the Florida driver. Benjamin Zocco withstands them all to take fourth. How about Brett Rial getting himself into the points for fifth? We didn't look at him hardly at all today. And then Andrew Ang surprising as well to get himself up into sixth just by surviving.
Man, that wound up being a pretty crazy race, Joe. Why did I think this would be a tame, rather uneventful, maybe just an easy ride here on a Saturday morning?
And the Dutchman, De Kort, is limping this car home because he's the last one on the lead lap. Unfortunately, just shy of the points. If one more car had been lapped, he would have been able to get a single point here. But unfortunately, all he can do is just maybe salvage a little bit of his ego by taking this number 4 home. So as we watch him, we're gonna let him get across the line here before we come to break. At least give him that. So as we're gonna go to replay actually before we go to break for this mistake. I'm not sure which one we're gonna watch first here, and that is 7th place here for De Kort. So coming off of White's corner, just a little bit too much of the grass there, Sean.
Yep, and I'll do it every time, unfortunately.
And then the second one you're going to see as he gets the car going, he's trying not to give up. This is coming in to Clayton.
Yeah, and same thing, Joe. He just gets off into the grass and sends the car around. Obviously, the car hadn't really recovered from the first incident. Wasn't very stable. Tires were probably angry at him.
And that one was a much harder hit. Took a lot more damage. So with that, we're going to take it to break here. And we'll be back after we see all the upcoming races on your screen. Also, afterwards, we'll have the official results as well as driver interviews. Don't go away. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, also known as Mosport. We just watched round 11 of the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. In the end, Michel Dudignon not only took the checkered flag, but took the championship with that win today. Corey Davis, newcomer, finished in second, 12 seconds behind, but as we saw today, it was a matter of survival, and that's what Corey did with a great finish in P2. Billy Bob Wright rounds out our podium, also well back from our leader, about 21 seconds behind. Benjamin Zocco was in the thick of a battle pretty much the entire race, but as everybody fell away around him, he comes home in a top 5. Final point, in fourth for Benjamin Zocco. Fifth goes to Brett Real, with Andrew Ang taking the final point behind him. Casper DeCourt limps it home in seventh after damage on the last lap. Simon Shaw 1 lap down, a nice finish in eighth, and Don Good, the last car to take the checkers, also a lap down in ninth. Sean?
And in 10th, it's going to be Marcello Aiello there, 10th place here for the Hispano-America driver. Mick Claridge going to have to settle for an 11th place run today. Ove Trengerade will finish just behind him there in 12th. Obviously, those two involved together. Hideki Koivitso will finish 13th. Michael Langford, tough day for him. Kind of a surprise there. Langford going to finish 14th. Ivan Doijo, he will finish 15th. And Jack Olstad was the first car out. Trouble early for Jack. Not a good run for him today. That's a shame. 16 cars started, and we only had there at the finish 7 go across the line.
Well, we had 9 cross the line.
I'm sorry, 9. My bad.
Yeah, almost had 8, but Casper would not be denied. In the end, it looks like, I'm not sure if we're doing Brett Real or Billy Bob Wright here first. Let's check with our director. Let's go with Brett Real. Looks like he's all mic'd up and ready. We'll do Billy Bob in a second once he gets prepared for his interview. But Brett Real finishing with a top 5. Brett, did you expect that at all? It seemed like... I'm sure every time you look down at your F3 screen, your number just kept going upwards.
Yeah, I didn't really have much practice at all this week. My first practice was the 20 minutes before the race. And what's that, Sterling Moss hairpin? That's what it's called?
Yes.
That thing is tough to get out of. And people were wrecking all over the place in front of me, and as soon as I got some type of rhythm going on, there's a car flying in front. It was a hilarious race, but that seems to happen here at Mosport.
Yeah, attrition played an incredible role. We expected a bit of it, but not this much per se. So going from 10th to 5th has to be relatively pleasing. Yeah,
especially since the amount of time in this week was relatively minimal, and it took me until about lap 10 to figure out that hairpin again, about how you got to get wide and then get on the power early. If you come in too narrow and you let it kind of float through, you can't get on the power until you're well past that exit, and then wait, I just lost a half a second.
It's very difficult getting on the power in this car without any wings on it. Now,
how about Michel, though? Can you believe that guy? That guy's incredible. I don't know. It's just amazing watching his replays, and you think you're doing what he's doing, but nope.
Well, and he's running the ballast as well, as far as we understood, 25 gallons. Yeah, just amazing the pace that he can run. Well, Brett, thanks for coming in and talking to us again. Congratulations on the top 5. That'll be 2 points more on the tally for you.
Okay, see you next week. Thanks, guys.
There's Brett Real, top 5 finisher here today in Canada. Up next, we're going to talk to one of our podium finishers, Billy Bob Wright, about that race. A bit lonely towards the end, but had some good battles there in the middle of the race. Billy Bob, talk to us about the weather conditions. A bit extreme here with the overcast making it, I'm sure, very grippy. Did that make it tough to adapt with the change?
Yeah, big time, Joe. It's a really strange race. I mean, every practice session I've been in has been clear and hot all week, and then I came in here with that, and I just kind of threw something at the set, got killed in qualifying, and got a little better for the race, but what a strange race all the way through. And who is this Corey kid, man? He comes in here and spanks us.
We were wondering the same thing. The name looks sort of familiar. I feel like I've seen him before, but I know he hasn't run on the broadcast before. Certainly seems to know this car. Now, this, of course, unfortunately hands the championship over to Michel Dudagnon with him outscoring you today coming into the last round. You are still in a fight with Benjamin and with Mick Claridge there for second, third, and fourth into the final round. What do you think is realistic going into Monza next week?
Well, with a solid result, second is doable. I was really pulling for Casper there all the way through that last session, just hoping he could keep Ben behind him, because I think that would have tied us up in the points. And I had a few things happen the last few races that kind of made me readjust my outlook on this whole thing. I'm just trying to run a really solid race, put a good set together, and have fun. And if the results come and I can finish second in the championship, that would be really, really cool. Worst case scenario, I'd love to be third or better. But we're just going to see what happens. It's, as you know, Monza next week is going to be absolutely insane, and with the points so tight, it's going to be something you don't want to miss on the broadcast for sure.
Sean?
Oh, Billy Bob, listen, man, it's been great watching you this season. You did say it was a little interesting out there today. Lots going on here. What was the biggest challenge of Mosport for you?
Well, the weather, because I was super confident coming in here. Right before the session, I went into a practice session and I reset the current world record for the track in the car. So I was really pumped. But like I told Joe earlier, man, I all week long I was running with track temperatures over 100. I got into a session at 91 degrees track temperature right before the race and was able to reset the world record, which, I went in there pumped up, but then the weather was so crazy, and I just didn't add enough ramp differential to get the car off the corner the way I needed to. So just came down to setup today. I could have used a little luck. Like I said, if Casper had been able to hold off Ben, it would have helped me a great deal. And wow, what a crazy race.
Yeah. I had said to the guys just before we got started and when we got into the session, I was like, whoa, this, because I had been in a session with Mick and it was 103 degrees on track. I'm like, whoa, hang on. This is a lot different. Had a feeling it might be a little bit of trouble. Cars sliding all over the place there in the last 5 laps. It was pretty scary out there. But again, congratulations with that podium finish today, buddy.
Thanks, guys. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to Monza. And if you're watching the broadcast, you don't want to miss that one next week, folks. So with the points so close and with that crazy track, it's going to be something you don't want to miss. Thanks, guys. We'll see you then.
All right. And our thanks to Billy Bob Wright, Joe.
Indeed. Third place finisher here today. That's going to wrap up our interviews, though. So we're going to close out. Of course, thanks once again to the community for coming together and bringing this series to air this season. And also thanks to Jack Ulstead and Benjamin Zocco for their organizing that championship. Also, don't forget, this is the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. And if you can go and check the description down in the YouTube, go check the link in the YouTube description. That's where you can donate. And we encourage you to, if you can, as the time is running out, to try and put together for this championship as many funds as we can. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. And you can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. Next round is going to be the last race of the season at the Monza Combined Layout. That'll be Saturday, September 2nd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.